All right, so this number one mistake is costing you thousands and thousands in your coaching business when it comes to selling your high ticket coaching program. And it was costing me thousands for years as well. And that number one mistake is selling your actual coaching program, believe it or not. And what I want you to do from today, and I'm going to explain how to do this, is instead of trying to sell your coaching program, I'm going to teach you how to create an environment that makes people feel like buying your program. And it may sound crazy, it may sound a bit left field, but this one reframe, this one change of perspective changed everything about my sales process, and it improved my closing rate, it lowered objections, it gave me more confidence, it gave me more conviction, and it helped me understand the psychology of why people buy, and also the psychology of why people don't buy as well. So I'm going to say it one more time, and I want you to say this out loud or type it in the comments. We're not trying to sell our coaching service. We're not trying to sell our coaching program. We are trying to create an environment that makes people feel like buying our coaching program. And that's where the power is. People only do things because they feel like it. People only buy things because they feel like it. Like my wife, for example. We're actually on a nice little walk at the moment together. She has 30 pairs of shoes. And it's not because she's a centipede. It's not because she has multiple limbs. It's because she feels like buying them. I used to have a very flashy car. I had a BMW, and it was costing me a fortune. But I didn't need that BMW. I bought that expensive car. I got myself in debt for it. I caused myself financial stress because I felt like I needed the car. I needed it for the outcome, which is status. That was the outcome for me. And people don't do things because they want to lose weight, or they want to get healthier, or they want to make more money. They do things and they buy coaching programs and services and products to solve problems and to get an outcome behind the outcome. Because you don't buy a drill for the drill itself, right? You buy a drill for the hole it creates. And even further, if you can buy that drill and sell not just the hole it creates, but the screw they put in the wall and the picture that they hang on the wall and they admire with their family and get joy and lovely thoughts and feelings from, that's what sells, okay? People do things because they feel like it. And when you do that, when they say yes, when they give you their card details, when they sign up for your payment link, whatever it may be, they think it was their idea to do so. And that's where the power is. That's where you get less buyer's remorse, less chargebacks, less shitty clients, basically. And you end up feeling good about sales. You end up feeling confident about sales. You end up enjoying sales more, and you get less objections. I've done thousands and thousands of sales calls in the last 20 years. I've just turned 40, and I got into the coaching space as a personal trainer at 20 years old, and I started learning sales then. I then got into sales coaching, and since 2020, I've built and grown 3 six-figure businesses online in the coaching space. One for men, one for women in the fitness and mindset space, and now another, which is the Leadership Lab, where we help coaches, course creators, and educators solve the problem of client acquisition, which is sales and marketing, right? And after doing thousands and thousands of calls, I'm going to run through with you over the next maybe 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how long it takes me, on how I deliver sales, and how I recommend you deliver sales calls so that you can create an environment that makes people feel like doing so. And I want to start with bad sales experiences. So everyone remembers the bad sales experiences. You remember a bad sales experience, you remember the bad taste in your mouth, how it made you feel. It might have angered you, frustrated you, pissed you off, whatever it may be. But you never remember the good sales experiences, right? And the reason why you don't remember the good sales experiences is because it's effortless. It flows. It's like you're under sales anesthesia, right? And then when you do make that decision to say, I want to jump in, I want to buy this product, you thought it was your idea to do so, but realistically, it was actually the person selling it to you. They pre-sold it to you. They put like Inception, the thought in your mind of what you want. And it's because they understand frames, it's because they understand how to control the call, and it's because they understand how to ask powerful questions. Because telling on a sales call is shit selling. And asking questions gets to the truth. And the truth shall set you free, right? So remember that one. Telling is shit selling. Asking questions gets to the truth. So the reason why people don't buy is because you don't put the focus on the prospect, because you are so invested into the outcome, like I used to be, instead of being fully invested into the process. I remember getting on sales calls and thinking, even before they've answered the call or jumped on Zoom, what offer am I going to put there? What objections are going to come up? How am I going to handle those objections? I had my scripts ready, and it was just disjointed. It was disconnected. I wasn't having an A to B conversation. I wasn't building real relationships and trust. I wasn't making that person feel listened to or heard in the slightest. And I was just following the script like a robot. So the first rule of thumb is to get rid of your script. Scripts are absolutely useless when it comes to sales. Scripts are right for the beginning part, so that you can, learn a few questions, learn a few frames. But the real power comes from when you just have a powerful conversation, where you are just curious about that person, when you are diagnosing like a doctor, when you are prescribing like a doctor, and you are just attached to the process, and you are unattached and disattached from the outcome. And what I mean by that is just keeping the conversation on the points that you are talking about. So when it starts, obviously you want to set yourself an agenda. The best way to bring the walls and barriers down and to get that person into an emotional state of calm and presence on a call is to start with setting an agenda. Every time I start a sales call, I will say to someone, I'm just going to set a small agenda so you know what to expect on the call. Is that okay? And they will reply, yes. That's the first yes that we've got. And I will say something along the lines of, this is just a nice conversation between the two of us, where I can get to know you a bit more, your business, what you need, what you want, where you want to get to, and to see if what I can provide is a good fit for you. And if you see the value in what we're doing today, if you see the value in the program, if you can feel it can solve your problems and get you to the result and outcome you want, we can jump right in. If not, that's totally cool. And I'll still give you a ton of value today. Does that sound fair? And they'll say yes. So we're just asking powerful questions. And we're going to ask closed questions and open questions. Open questions are the biggest ones that move the needle. And the way that I remember to answer open questions is I always used to write on a piece of paper the 5 bums on the rugby post. So I would draw out like a H, like a rugby post, and on top of the post, on the horizontal line, I would write 5 W's, and it looks like 5 bums sitting on a rugby post, right, or a football post, if you're overseas. And what those W's stand for, are the what's, where's, which, why's, and when questions, and the H are the hows. So if you can start 90% of your questions on a sales call with a W or a H question, then that is going to get the prospect to open up, to give you more information. And the main information that you need to understand to help this person is to find out their North Star. And what I mean by their North Star is not the result, but the result behind the result. Okay? We're going to go back this way, yeah? Yeah, my wife's instructed me of where we're going next. Is the result behind the result. Because as I said before, you don't buy a drill for the sake of a drill. You buy a drill for the hole it creates. You don't want to make more money just for the sake of more money. You want to make more money because it's a vehicle, right? It's either going to move you towards something or move something towards you. It's going to solve a painful problem that you have in your life right now. Either it's going to help you pay off some debt, or you may want to use that money to, buy yourself a new fancy car, or to go traveling around the world, as me and my wife do. The reason why we make money is not for the sake of making money, it's so that we can be digital nomads and we can travel. We're in Crete at the moment. We're looking to go to Asia next year, and it's just nice to have that freedom, right? And that's what motivates me to do so. But I have problems in my life at the moment, and will continue to have problems to get myself to the next level. And it's the job of the person, the coach, the consultant on the call to find out what those problems are. Once you've figured out their North Star, then you want to get them to visualize what doors that will open for them which are currently closed by achieving it. So for example, when I was in the fitness space, I'd ask someone the question of, let's just say we're having this conversation 90 days from today, What would you have to achieve? How would you have to look and perform in order for this to be the best investment of your life? And they would proceed to tell me. This question would open up so many other areas for us to dive into. And they would say, well, I'd want to lose 30 pounds, I'd want to be fitter, I'd want to have more confidence, more energy. And just from that one question being answered, I can then go deeper onto that. And by going deeper onto that, that person is going to feel listened to, understood and heard. And in order for them to feel listened to, understood and heard, you want to thank them and acknowledge them and congratulate them on sharing with you and for being vulnerable and for going deep and for giving you that information. You also at certain points on the call want to check back in with the prospect to see if you're on the right track so that we can get things right. We've covered X, Y, Z. We've covered A, B and C. Is there anything else that we need to dive into? Because what you've got to think about, right, is that the majority of people out there that are in a certain level of pain, whether it's physical, mental or emotional, financial, spiritual or their relationships, they usually don't feel listened to or heard from most of the people in their life. They feel like they're at the bottom of the barrel. They don't feel like anyone gets them. And anyone really is trying to understand them, and you know, they struggle to open up and they struggle to reach out because of that. And they hold a lot of their pains and insecurities in. They hold a lot of their problems and they don't talk about them enough, so that they just keep snowballing and snowballing. And if you jump on a call and just ask them a load of questions and throw them at them and just use your script like a robot and move on to the next step and the next step, they're going to think this person just wants to take money from me. This person's just interested in what they can get from me. And that's another thing that you want to focus on, is like, don't focus on what you can get from the prospect on the call. Focus on what you can do for the prospect on the call, what you can do for them. And that's going to make them feel listened to. That's going to make them feel understood. And that's going to build rapport. And building rapport leads to building trust. Because there's only a couple of things, well, 3 things that you need on a call. Is to take the prospect away from confusion to clarity, to certainty, and then to excitement. And that's when it becomes easy. That's when it becomes effortless. That's when you start selling without even having to sell. Because you are just guiding the prospect to making a decision that is right for them. You are just guiding the prospect to making a decision that's going to change their life. And they have an agreement with you and it's all in alignment, rather than thinking they're just buying something for the sake of buying something because you're a hard closer, right? I used to say I was a hard closer for years and really just turned out I was a shit salesman, right? And when my close rate went up and my objections went down and sales become effortless, was when I just started creating that environment that made people feel like buying my services, made them feel like buying my program. And that's where the magic is. So you need to find out that North Star. You need to figure out what they want to achieve, and by doing so, what that will change. You okay there, my love? Yep. Yeah? You're spinning around? Yeah. We're having a little spin around here, look, just so that she can see everything. It's absolutely beautiful here, look. Just take a little break here, guys, just so that you can digest some of the information that I'm giving you. And if there's anything that you don't quite understand or anything I'm not putting enough time or emphasis on, just post it in the comments and I'll create a follow-up video from this to go into more depth. So, as I said, we want to make sure that we understand what they're trying to achieve, what they've tried to do to achieve that and why it hasn't worked, and then what that's affecting right now. We need to understand that not just the cost of action, but the cost of inaction. So they understand the differences between the two. And then once they've answered that question of like, this is what I'd love to achieve in the next 90 days or 6 months or 12 months, ask them like, okay, cool. And then when you achieve that, what doors will that open for you that are currently closed? Because we want to paint that picture. We want to get them to visualize that future of not just, I'm going to be making 10K a month, but I'm going to be debt free. My wife's going to be happier. I'm going to be able to travel the world. I'm going to have more freedom. I'm going to be able to be the father that I've always wanted to be to my daughter, whatever it may be. And they're going to get excited. They're going to go away from that confusion. And then you just need to help them get clarity. And then you just need to help them get certainty. Clarity is they fully understand your offer and how it's going to help them. And we're going to move into that next. And then certainty is just that it's for them. That they can see your methods working for them. They can see your program being the only solution for their problems. and they've got that certainty that they believe that they are willing and they are ready, and they have that self-belief to draw that line in the sand and fully back themselves to do the work and get the result. So once we've figured out those things, we will ask them a little curveball question. This is what I always ask is, look, you know, I hate to throw a curveball in the conversation, but let's just say you don't get my help today. Let's just say you don't get any help today and you just keep replaying the same 6 months over and over again for the next few years. What's your biggest fears and concerns for the future? Because we want to make them aware of this. Like, I ask myself this question all the time. It's how I build leverage. It's how I stay consistent with doing the things that I don't quite feel like doing, consistent with the things that I find hard to motivate myself for. Like making these videos. Sometimes I can skip over making these videos. Sometimes I can just go for a walk and be like, oh, I don't want to come up with an idea and whatever it may be. But if I don't do these videos, then I won't reach more people. If I don't reach more people, I won't be able to change more lives. If I don't change more lives, I can't change my own life. And if I don't do that, then I'm gonna have to go back to the UK where we don't wanna be and get a mediocre job, which I don't wanna do. And yeah, it just doesn't seem good. So when I understand the cost of inaction, it motivates me and gives me leverage and inspires me to take action on my new life. Because if I start doing those actions and I start making decisions that take me one step closer to my inspiring and compelling future rather than replaying the past and bring it back into the present, I'm going to have more of the good stuff that I desire, that I dream for, that I fantasize and romance about on a daily basis. And then we're going to ask them, which future you're looking forward to the most? And they'll say, obviously the first one. You know, I want to step into that 2.0 version of me. I want to step into that new life. And then once you've gone through all that, you check back in with them. You then want to then go through what I call a feature benefit feedback system. And then that's where you talk about the main features of your services, then the benefits, and the benefits need to link into how you're going to solve their problems. Because during the journey of the call, you would have figured out at least 1 to 3 problems that they need to solve in order to get more results or to get their dream outcome. And then once you've done that, you want to get agreement, which is feedback. So based on the features and benefits, you're not actually going to say features and benefits, but can you see that working for you? Do you believe that you can do this? Can you see that benefiting you? And they'll say yes. And then you'll say, why do you feel so confident with that? What makes you feel like so convicted with that? Why do you feel like that could work for you even more so? And then they're going to tell you. So instead of you telling, because remember, telling is shit selling, and asking questions, especially powerful questions, gets to the truth, they're going to positively reinforce why it benefits them. So they're selling it to themselves. You're not tricking them. You're not convincing them, because convincing isn't selling and selling isn't convincing. You are just helping them change their mind and their perspective and have that belief. Because we can't change people's behaviours, nor should you, right? We can't change people's behaviours, but we can help people change their beliefs. Their belief that they can do it, the belief that someone else has done it, the belief that they can achieve it, the belief that they can back themselves. And if you have all those beliefs in alignment, then they're going to be able to then change their behaviour. Does that make sense? That belief will then, as a byproduct, give them that belief and that buying power to buy your services. And that's how that psychology works. And then lastly, I love asking this question, is on a scale of 1 to 10, you know, how ready and committed or how excited are you to step into your new life and get those results? And I may say 8, 9 or 10, we want a 9 or a 10, right? And then follow that up with amazing. And can I just ask, why isn't that number lower? And you're probably thinking, Russ, why are you asking why is that number lower instead of higher? Well, if I ask why isn't that number higher, they're negatively going to reinforce why it isn't higher. They're going to think of the negatives, right? But if I say, why isn't that number lower? They're going to positively reinforce why that number is so high. They'll be like, well, it can't be lower because of X, Y, Z. It can't be lower because I need to do this. And then you can go into explaining, you can then go into the close, okay? And when it comes to closing, you want them to make a decision. You don't want to go Wolf of Wall Street. It's not the 90s, say the price and go quiet and whoever speaks first is the loser. Fuck that, that's not how we do things. You don't want to say the price and then say, how does that sound? Because they could say bloody expensive, right? We don't want to be saying that. You want to give them an alternate close. I call it a Jedi closing question. You could say something along the lines of, the program is X amount. We have 2 start dates, start date A or start date B. Out of the 2 start dates, which one suits you best? Or you could say something along the lines of, my coaching program is X amount for the next 90 days. Or you can split the payment into X per month. The first option's a little cheaper. The second option is better for cash flow. Out of those 2 options, which one suits you best? And the amazing thing about this is that it allows them to make a choice. And it's a question that doesn't allow them to bring the word yes or no into play. So they have to make a choice. Once again, you're asking them questions, so you're giving the buying and purchasing power over to the prospect. So it's their idea to do so. That's where the power is. And then they'll make a choice. And you'll say, cool, amazing. Let's get you locked in. How would you like to pay? With a debit, credit, or a link that I can send to you right now? Once again, they make a choice. And then you make the sale. It really is that simple. It's just hard to do consistently. It's hard to break away from convincing, from telling, from putting pressure on yourself, from speaking too much on the call, to just switching, Calimera, from switching to asking powerful questions. And if you do get objections, and you want to see how I would handle objections and the framework that we use, which has helped hundreds of clients with, and I've closed thousands of calls with over the years, then comment below objections, and I'll make that my next video. But anyway, just going to leave you with this before the video finishes, is that stop trying to sell your coaching service and instead create an environment that makes people feel like buying.